Am I live? I think I am. It says so. Um, I am just so happy to be here with you guys. You know that I had to put my computer into rehab, so I'm doing this on my cell phone. Yesterday was kind of like a massive disaster since I was turning it sideways and thinking that that would work, and thinking that you guys caught me singing Jingle Bell Rock when you hadn't, and I blew my own cover. So, anyway, let's just get on with the show. I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. I understand if you're not here because you probably had no faith that I could get it together, but here I am trying to get it together. Um, Everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation. Mark, you're the best. Thank you for being here. Everything I say is just coming from me, just shooting from the hip. And I try to couch things and phrase things with that this is my opinion and what if and possibly and allegedly and all that jazz. But I just can't underscore enough how important that is to be absolutely clear that everything that comes out of my mouth is simply coming out of me brain. Pixie Nickers, you guys are the bomb. You are my two top viewers, my two top supporters. So thank you so much for being here. Let me do my little thummy thumb thing. Please hit that like button if you'd be so kind. And who else do I have? Annie Ruler, my other favorite. I watched a crime daily and sent it out to you. Lauren Agee, very similar to Kylie. Kenny mentioned it a while back. Oh, I haven't heard of that. I have not heard of that. Chore day, always good to get the chores done. Hey, Susan Dodge. So thank you, Mark. Did you email it to me? Um, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to talk about Kylie. I want to talk about Idaho 4 and maybe Maui too, but mostly I'm here to talk about Kylie today. And most days, I hope. I mean, I know I felt like I really got sidetracked last year by Idaho 4, and I was resisting it, just like I was resisting Trinity Bacchus. But then there's similarities, and it's all about Kylie, but it's also all about justice, and it's all about fighting evil and fighting corruption, if that is indeed what we are facing, which I think it is. So I can read what you guys are writing today since I don't have the thing going sideways. I don't know if I should take that video down from yesterday or not. I was going to leave it up just to be goofy. She went camping on a cliff with friends, ended up in the water. No, it's on my community page. Okay, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think I caught something about that. Um, Camping is not that dangerous. I've camped a lot in my lifetime. And yeah, I mean, if you're, camping at like a Lord of the Flies party, then it's super dangerous. But give me a freaking break. Present, internet worky or wonky, so I won't be typing much, but listening as much as possible. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Um, and let's see what else. The only thing I can't do is highlight the comments when I'm on my phone instead of my laptop. I just don't know how, plus I'll probably knock it down. And I'm just so happy that I got some lighting, I got my backdrop, I got my notes, I got you guys. I think we're all set to go. So, yeah. The things that I want to like solidify and just reassert are the things that we know as facts. A lot of what we know is speculation and hearsay. And a lot of that hearsay and speculation comes directly from the horses' mouths. They're Truckee. But going back to the Makeout Presser, as I call it, and I just think it deserves a name of its very own, the Makeout Presser, where Scammy and Lindsay were all rubbing up against each other and just being creepy AF. You could see law enforcement sitting right behind them, kind of wigging out, in my opinion. But it was bad enough that it was happening, but it went on for so freaking long. And that's not just when you watch it in slow motion, like on Mark Molina's 30-minute tape or video where he slows it down. It just went on for so long. It was so uncomfortable. It was so creepy. But what that tells me more than anything is that those two are in collusion. Like, you could say metaphorically they're in bed together, possibly more than metaphorically. I mean, at the moment, it looked like literally they were in bed together. Seriously, you guys, like, that was the creepiest, weirdest, most inappropriate public display of affection. And then, especially when you take it in that context of this is the person who not only says that she was the last person to have contact with your missing daughter, but she goes on to say that she pretty much set her up for some kind of disaster, whatever it was that happened to her. And I fear that what happened to her is what happens all across this country and the world when you get a bunch of teenagers together with alcohol and testosterone and something to prove. And so often you get these situations where girls, young women get taken advantage of by more than one party. And it's so horrific. I've mentioned to you guys that I went to Miami University here in Oxford, Ohio, straight out of high school. And it was common knowledge that that happened at the fraternity houses on campus routinely. But then, to make sure that you knew, in case you didn't know, the fraternity brothers had a custom of dumping a bucket of paint over a rock in the center of campus every time they got a new victim, you guys. So horrifying. And sometimes the bucket of paint was like dumped again before the last one was even dry. It was so freaking gross. And then when you had people on campus that unalived themselves, that was really swept under the rug. And the correlation between the two is a natural parallel, very, very likely. So whether that's people that were victimized or people who knew about it and didn't say anything or indicated that they wanted to say something, those people's lives would be endangered as well. So it's an epidemic that, in my opinion, we all shy away from discussing openly because it's so crude, it's so rude, it's so disgusting, it's so unthinkable. And I think that myself and many of us were probably really relieved in the autopsy when they said officially no sign of any SA. But really, I mean, was anything in that autopsy genuine? I don't know. I don't know. So something that I wanted to really hit home to is the ingenuity of, this is jumping over to the Idaho 4 case, the ingenuity of the alleged perpetrator who literally scored, you guys. He scored the highest in the state of Pennsylvania on a standardized test when he was in high school. And yet he is allegedly dumb enough to order a weapon online that he's then going to turn around and use on multiple people. That case, to me, is as cockamamie as the Kylie Rodney case. Both of the cases, from out the gate, the minute I heard about them, I was just like, no, nothing in this story sounds legit. So you guys, I'm going to try to read what you're writing because I see that it's scrolling. And it's so tiny. Mark says, good to see you. Hope doing great. CB says, good, I'm here. Show on loop. Very gross. Something ugly is up. Scammy Lindsay. I think you said slammy Lindsay. Yeah, and you know, if it's more than one person in collusion, then that's the C word that we all try to avoid, because once you use that word, it's like get your tinfoil hat, you know, people are just like, oh yeah, right. So obviously, in my opinion, the community of Truckee is conspiring to cover this up, conspiring to erase it like it never happened. And there's so much evidence of that. What they took photographs of Kylie down from the website of the tea shop from where she worked. The graduation video from her graduating high school has not been posted the way they normally post them. And I'm sure the list goes on and on. There was a YouTuber who wanted to donate a bench, a memorial bench in Kylie's name, and she was not allowed to. I think it was the mother who said, no way, Jose, we're not having it. Like, why? Why wouldn't you want to memorialize your child? That's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Nothing real. Exactly, Mark. And the time of 75 here, crazy weather here. Mark, you are in Oklahoma, and yeah, it's a beautiful fall day here in Ohio. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, thank you. CB says, love the necklace. I've been going completely nuts with the jewelry designing. I've just been what I call suffering inspiration. So I'm out of control, just making and remaking so much jewelry. I'm having a blast with it. It's one of my addictions. Hi, guys. Hey, Terry. And Pixie Nickers says, where did you find the bird cage for the necklace you gifted last? I really want one. Oh, Pixie Nickers, if only I knew. Here, I'll show it to everybody for those who don't know what you're talking about. I was going to show it, but then I was like, no, we're not a jewelry channel. We're staying focused on true crime. But yeah, it is a pretty interesting piece, costume jewelry. So it's like a little bird cage with a turquoise bird in it. You know, honestly, I gather all types of things from all types of places, and then I put them together. And if I can, I don't know, maybe we can Google bird cage and see what comes up. But anyway, the little birdie inside is turquoise, and it's just like a pin that holds it in there. And then the beads on top are glass. But the necklace and the earrings that don't match, the keys, are just things that I assembled, things that I had fun with. And I'm sorry that I can't be more helpful with the information. But it's fun playing the game, and you were the first one to ever win, and then it took me forever to get it to you. I got the last one sent out a couple days ago, I think Friday, and it said that it would be arriving to the lucky winner today. She was going to be trying to wear it to her son's wedding in San Francisco this weekend. And she said she needed to get it by Thursday in order for that to happen. So I think a one-way street. If they're here or on the replay can let me know if they received it today, that would be awesome. Because I have the tracking number and all that stuff. So Annie Ruler says the Trinity seemed like a setup too. The aunt obviously didn't carry her there, but the lure. So, yeah, very smart, Mark Molina says to Annie. Smart observations on Trinity Bacchus. The story is weak. You know, the story that fake Auntie Ashley, suspect number one, gives starts with this thing about how she was at her friend's house making Christmas posters. And this was, what, November 7th? Is that right? It was November 7th, and she was making Christmas posters. Like, first of all, what the F is a Christmas poster? November 7th is a little early, and we don't need to know like what type of project it was you were working on. When people give too much detail about absolutely meaningless information and then give no detail at all about the essential information, that's when you know they're lying. Bald face lying. So who else does that? Of course, Scammy. Scammy gives us all the details about taking a leak in the woods. Like, way too much information. But then what about the information about when you're having your last communication with Miss Kylie? Or what about the things that you were talking about allegedly when you were in the car, allegedly recharging your phones, allegedly? Like, all that is shaky AF, and the story keeps flip-flopping and going back and forth. But she can, tell us how they were throwing the glow sticks. We were just being teenagers, throwing glow sticks into the party. Like, what? So you were like on the outside of the party and you were throwing glow sticks in? Like, that is so bizarre. Why she would be painting in her imagination and then in the imagination of people that she's talking to, this idea that they're outside of the party throwing something in, but wait, you're at the party. You're traipsing all around the party. Like, that makes 0 sense, you guys. 0 sense. So these people that think that they're smart enough to lie, or like in Trinity Backus's case, smart enough to put something on social media that's like a mile long about your Christmas posters and how you forgot that you told this person that they could spend the night, and then you were taking a bath, and then your boyfriend was in there with you, and then Trinity was texting you and calling you and wanting to know where the paints were, and just on and on and on with the details, when that whole story seemed to me an account to try to cover for where DNA was going to be found, and where Trinity's DNA was going to be found, out in the shed. Oh, because she was getting the paints. And on the bed because they were braiding and pulling hair. Like, okay, so you're saying that a fight happened on the bed and you're going to find a bunch of Trinity's hair in the bedroom? Is that what you're saying? The whole thing started with her pulling up and going into the living room, and Trinity's clothes and her friend's clothes were all over the living room. Isn't that what fake Auntie Ashley said? That the living room was in complete disarray? So is this in case you find, forgive me, Trinity's undergarments under a couch? Oh, right, that's because that's when all the laundry was being thrown all over the place before I came home and told them to clean it up. And there were at least 2 arguments that Ashley and Trinity got in about the mess in the living room, about the braiding of the hair. So again, when people set up this dynamic where they're having an acrimonious interaction, where they're basically having a fight with this person who then disappears, weird how you just happened to be at odds with them right before they disappeared about what? Basically nothing. Laundry and hair pulling. Like Chris Watts. Chris Watts said that him and Shanann had gotten into a disagreement about their amicable divorce, right? Like, everything was cool, but, these people that draw this picture that everything's fine. Like, yes, we had a disagreement, but it was no big deal. But then the person disappeared right after your alleged tiny, insignificant disagreement. It's too much, you guys. These people tell on themselves, and as I always say, for that we can thank them. They tell on themselves again and again. So what we have to do as the viewers is read between the lines and determine where the inconsistencies are, where the stories that just don't add up. And you know who else does this? I hate to say this, but the law enforcement. The law enforcement makes inconsistent claims in stories like Trinity Backus, Kylie Rodney, Idaho 4, and then even the Maui case when we look over at that. Law enforcement is usually going to be very conservative on any information that they share. They're not going to share anything that they're not 100% solid on. They don't change their story, typically in real life. They just don't change their story. But you look at the Idaho 4 case, and that story just kept on changing. The type of car they were looking for was changing, the knife sheath being found on the bed next to Maddie, under Maddie. So many inconsistencies there. And they can't have it both ways. They have to choose the story and stick with it. I mean, we all know that. You choose your story and you stick with it. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I hate to be suspicious of law enforcement. You know that I have very, very high regard for first responders. I have very high regard for teachers and medical professionals, anybody who's in a helping profession who puts their needs second to what they're doing professionally in their community. That's an astoundingly noble act. And first responders, like teachers, like medical professionals, do this every single day. It's second nature to them. So when there's a bad apple out there, it ruins it for everybody. We have so many honest and excellent, expert first responders that would never do anything the least bit unethical. And yet they're all under scrutiny because of all these high profile cases where the opposite is what's going on. And there's inconsistencies and lies. And it seems to me that the state of Idaho is really bad in that department. I'm thinking that when you get into these rural areas out in the Sierra Nevadas, that it gets really bad too, because these are hostile environments, you guys. As beautiful as Lake Tahoe is, it's a hostile environment. And is same for Idaho. As beautiful as that state is, it's a very hostile environment. The same could even be said for the island of Maui. It's gorgeous, but it's a hostile environment. There's limited resources. There's a lot of land. There's very few people. It's very expensive. And it's just not managed so accurately. Like safety is a huge issue. It's a huge issue when you go on vacation in a place like anywhere, but Hawaii or Alaska. Those are probably two of the most dangerous places in the United States to vacation. We all know going down to Mexico can be very dangerous. Traveling to any unknown region, but especially regions with laws that are very different than the ones that you're used to, it can get extremely dicey extremely quickly. So it's not surprising that these things are happening in the Sierra Nevadas, in Idaho, and in Maui, on Maui, Lahaina. I mean, what a terrible, terrible situation. And what I find even more appalling is how it's really taken a back seat and it's not being covered very much, if at all. You know, I keep checking my favorite channels for covering it, and, you know, thank goodness that there's some new information coming out, but in my opinion, not enough. Like, I fear that these powers that be are going to get away with this, as they so often do. But you would hope with social media and technology that it's getting harder and harder for criminals, even in these powerful positions, to do their shenanigans and to hurt people and to unalive people and sweep it under the rug and whitewash it. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so glad we're talking about Maui for a moment here. We're just at 25 minutes, but the count, the fatality count, I checked it a couple of days ago and it was at 99. Like literally, they're trying to say that that's the number of people that died in the Lahaina fires. 99. So not 100. You know, 100 is how many passed away at the station, the nightclub where Great White was playing on Rhode Island, in Rhode Island, like 20 years ago. So that was 100 fatalities total. Like not everybody passed that night. There was a handful that passed that didn't make it, that were hospitalized. But the number for Maui to be at 99, like as if, could it be more blatant, the manipulation tactics? It's so freaking crazy, you guys. Like, I'm not buying that for a second. I am not buying that for a second. I think it's like 10 times that, honestly. So, let's see, Mrs. Amir, hello. Braiding hair, nodding it, seriously nutty. Seriously, Auntie. Yeah, nutty Auntie. Yeah. I mean, how else are you going to account for all those hairs that are going to be found all over the room and in other rooms too? Because, you know, those things travel and they're hard to clean up. So Sandra says, hey, Mark, creme brulee, abbreviation for sugar-coated custard and torched till crispy and slightly burnt. I still would try it though. Yeah, that whole creme brulee thing with Kate Cunyo, creepy AF. The way she said it was creepy. Yeah, it's a fancy dessert. Yeah, it's like a thing that you could imagine that rich kids that live in Tahoe would do together. But it's also slang for some substances. It's slang for kinky things. It's, don't Google it. It's bad. And again, wouldn't you just say, well, we got together because we were cooking? Seriously. Just like with Auntie Ashley and her Christmas posters. Wouldn't you just say I was over at my friend's house? You wouldn't even say crafting. Maybe. I was over at my friend's house making some things. You wouldn't like say, well, this is exactly what I was making. I was making a quilt with little stars on it and reindeer and unicorns and no. Too much detail. It's a distraction. It's a sideshow. It's like, look over here so that you don't see what's going on over here. Or it's just taking up time and space so that you are hoodwinked and you can't focus on the important things. I mean, the whole freaking thing with that white Elantra in the Idaho 4 case, you guys, for so long at the beginning of the white Elantra, we're looking for the white Elantra that the night shift person at the A&W gas station happened to see on their surveillance footage when they were bored and had nothing better to do. That was fishy AF to begin with, because you're law enforcement. You should be getting everybody's surveillance footage and going over it with a fine-tooth comb. So the fact that you're trying to say that just some rando minimum wage night shift person happened to find this and share it with you was so bizarre to me. The whole thing seemed like a red herring. For weeks, I stuck to that. I was like, this is just a red herring. And then along with the rest of the country, I got all caught up in it with Koberger and the arrest and all that. And for many months now, I've been back to that whole white Hyundai Elantra is a red herring. It's just another red herring. And for all we know, this whole thing with Nick in Boca, like that whole thing could be a red herring too. You know, we've talked about that again and again. And again, the story of the seat belt and her belt, the actual belt. And Kenny and I were talking about this in, I think it was in Ninja Chihuahua's live chat the other night, that my very first immediate thought was, dude, good excuse for when they find your fingerprints all over her seatbelt buckle and her actual belt buckle. And that was my knee-jerk reaction. But overall, for many, many moons, I trusted that guy. I trusted his story. I quit trusting him when Squirrel Girl did her interview release drops of him that he authorized. Because I was like, if he's being for real, then why isn't he just going on Squirrel Girl's channel? Why is he having this private conversation with her and then allowing her to go public with it? Like, that made no sense to me. So I've gone back and forth with that guy in my trust with him, but I feel like he has zero credibility. The problem is if somebody lies to you about one little thing, then you don't know. What other lies are they feeding you? And people that are good at lying are good at lying. And it's very, very hard to discern when people are being dishonest. Even if you have a lie detector test, those things are unreliable too. That's why they can't use them in court. But mostly it's the phrasing, there's a lot of trickery with the people giving the lie detector tests, to tell somebody that they failed miserably at the end of it or even in the middle of it is a tactic. Like, they might not be failing, and you can go ahead and pull that on them and see how they respond to it, because that's going to give you a lot of information. Cream brulee. I don't believe those numbers at all. Yeah. Who else is going live today or tonight? I don't know. Divine Justice, aka Mrs. G, the Honey Badger. She's been going live a lot. Shan has been going live as much as she can. I know that Ara wants to go live, but she got sick. And Mark, are you planning on it? These are the people that I keep checking in with to see if they have any new drops. Ninja Chihuahua, she doesn't do lives. She does awesome videos. And if you guys haven't seen her home improvement series, you gotta see it. It's great. Oh, and look, my battery is low. I've got my plug-in right here, but maybe I should just go ahead and wrap her up. Let's see. Love in the background. Hey, Mega Pints and Muffins. Yeah, the background is a very cool tapestry that I've had for a long time. And usually I have it hanging, but then I have it all hidden away with all the candles and stuff. So I'm going to try to be going more simple on my set, especially while I'm just using my cell phone. But even afterwards, I get a little bit carried away with my home decor and my jewelry, and I just want to be more focused on my content and my my chat so that I can see what you guys are saying. So yeah, I love the background too. Thank you. Still believe Nick saw her car there as other people did also. Well, yeah, her car was spotted in many places, allegedly. And I believe that it was in many places. The whole story with Boca and Prosser, Boca, Scammy going out and partying at Boca with her headlamp and her Coors beer, the night after Kylie's body was recovered. Again, we can thank her for that. We can thank her for all of her ridiculous, skeezy videos that she does, that she's really just telling on herself. So I thought of something, how there's the Fight Club theme in not only Truckee and Moscow, but also in the Gabby Petito case. Just this morning, I had a brain thought. That's from Armchair Detective. I gotta give him credit. I love him. Anyway, the brain thought was Fight Club, with the Idaho 4 and the Corner Club, the bar that everybody hung out at. the bar that the surveillance photo came from. These two cases, why do both of these two cases have the same strange type of still shot with a cell phone of a surveillance camera with, you know, the last proof of life for not Kylie, or the one of the last proofs of life for Maddie and Kaylee? Corner Club, Fight Club. Fight Club is huge in these cases. I think it's an essential key to unlocking these mysteries, but especially in Moscow at the University of Idaho, Sigma Chi, where Ethan and Xana and Bethany and Ethan's triplet siblings all were allegedly on that last night. Sigma Chi, I always want to say Chi, is the same fraternity that Brad Pitt was in. And thank you for telling me that, chat. Sorry, I can't remember exactly who it was, but that was last week. So Brad Pitt was in Sigma Chi at a university, I think in Missouri. And it's a big thing with these people being deceased and being involved in these fights, allegedly, with a Fight Club kind of theme. We've got that in Truckee at these parties, and we've got that at the fraternities with these parties. It's not good. And that's another one of those movies, just like the Lord of the Flies. I've not seen the movie nor read the book, so I need to fix that, right? Because that will be interesting for sure. They know cars. It's survival in the area. Why call a tow guy so far away? Kylie probably does have a tow service. He did not call 911. Nope, not going live. Mark, please. Waiting to get some content to share. Always a good idea, for sure. Hey, Scammy, were you celebrating or drowning your guilty conscience? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of celebrating, a lot of drowning the guilty conscience. But why is she being protected? That's the real question. Why are the adults in the area and the law enforcement actually literally protecting her? Another similarity with the Moscow, Idaho 4 and the Kylie Rodney case is the law enforcement alleging that they're not concerned about underage drinking and illicit use of substances, but they're trying to get people to come forward and talk to them rather than hauling people into the department and interrogating them. They're like begging and pleading with people to volunteer, and people are not going to volunteer to come forward and rat on their friends. Like, you're next. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And please don't do that. Please don't go around begging for suspects and witnesses to come out of the woodwork and find them and come talk to them willingly. Plus, you don't believe what suspects tell you. Suspects aren't going to tell you the truth. So the whole approach is just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Sammy, we know you're in deep. Someone will talk someday. Yeah. It's only been a year. It's only been a year for Kylie Rodney's case. About, 15 months now? We're just coming up on a year with the Moscow case. These cases are not going to go away. And eventually people will talk. Better sooner than later, because we don't need any more people disappearing or unaliving or any of this. It's just really scary. It's downright scary. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, you guys. I'm going to show you that thumb once again. Please hit that like button if you'd be so kind. Share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. S'il vous plaît. And thank you so much for being here. I just am trying to hobble along and keep my lives going, keep my channel going while my laptop is in the shop. So thanks for being here with me, and keep on keeping on. We will find out the truth. All we can do is our best and keep trying, one foot in front of the other, day in, day out. So have a really good rest of your afternoon. Take care of yourself, drink your agua, and get your exercise, sunshine, fresh air, good nourishment, protein, high produce, especially your veggies. And what else? Relax, get your rest, be kind, just be. Thanks, Mark, for modding, and thank you everybody for being here. Yes, peace, laugh, and love, and sending you light, sending you love. I will hopefully see you on a live tomorrow. So thanks again. See you then.